I'm gonna go with this one, and I know it's one that a lot of people talk about, but I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna talk to you about it the way that I came to it. Right? Okay. So I'm sat on the sofa with Rosie the other day, and we're watching. What movie we were watching? We were watching a movie, right? And let's just say, for example, it's the Matrix. It wasn't the fucking Matrix I watched that in ages. Let's just say it's the Matrix, right? Which is kind of, I suppose, really, that's really a tangible link to what I'm talking about. So,
You're really building this up.
so I'm watching it and I'm like, right, okay. So Lawrence Fishburne, yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
is an actor, right? And he
You're
is.
not wrong.
We know this but when he's in the Matrix, okay, when we create a film, we create a universe. Okay, so let's say How I Met Your Mother, right? They
Okay.
live in New York, and because New York exists in their universe, and Wisconsin exists in their universe, and Philadelphia exists in their universe, the entire world exists in their universe. Like in Friends example as well, they go to London, so we know the UK exists in their universe. Now, because these places exist in their universe, there has to be people within their universe other than the characters, right? Yeah, we're on board.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Right. So, what if we're living in a world where Lawrence Fishburne is playing, or whoever he is outside of this world, he's playing Lawrence Fishburne? What if we're in a
What?
movie about Lawrence Fishburne, right? And we're just part of the reality that exists because this movie exists because Lawrence Fishburne exists
Was
within
this
this.
so that entire like 10-minute spiel was to essentially ask the question of, "Hey, Rich, do you think we're living in a simulation?"
So that's right. So, well, that was the point. Like, obviously, the simulation theory exists, right? But I've come to it in a completely different way through the medium of film, which I found quite interesting because I don't know if you looked at like the Neil deGrasse Tyson explaining the simulation theory, which is what I found.
I'm aware of it. I'm aware
So
of it.
I found this after I'd already done this. Like, what if we're living in a world that's film? One of the ways he gets around the fact that we're, 50-50, he says, it's like it could be, it could not be. And the reason it could not be is that if we're living in a simulation, we're living in a world that has been simulated by the people who know how to make simulations, right? And if
Yeah.
so, they would have simulated the technology to make simulations because that's what their reference for normal is at this point. And one of the ways he explains that is by we live in a world where we can make movies. And if you look at all of movies made throughout the time from when we could make movies to today, most of them are set in relatively modern times where we don't set many movies before we could make movies. There are obviously movies like that, but the overwhelming majority of them are set in times after we could make movies.
Well, that makes them more relatable to their target audiences.
Exactly. So there are period pieces. Now, we could be a period piece where we're not part of a simulation that we're like, before simulations existed, we made these guys to replicate that so you can enjoy it. Or we could be not in a simulation. So it's like a 50-50 in that
Yeah,
respect.
I mean, well, the way I heard the simulation theory is that if we are capable of, the way I see that is if we're capable of creating a program that is as detailed as out. Essentially, if we're capable of creating a program that's capable of creating a program, then there's no reason to believe that we are not a program created by somebody else,
But
right?
because we
Like
don't
it's
have the
that sort
technology
of,
to do that, we're
if
either on
we
our
can
way to it and
exactly,
we're in that. But it's likely because we're not in their sort of relevant experience. We're not simulated during their relevant experience and time. Then it's likely that we're not. But it's also equally as likely that we could be. But my problem
yeah.
is, if we're in a film, we can already make films.
Well,
We don't know
okay. Well,
you know.
so you your theory is we might be in a film, and the basis is because films exist.
Yeah. And we make films about people making films. You've seen like films about people who are making films. Like
I,
there
I
was
think I, I think we'd make a nice rom-com film. I think the story of our lives would make a really nice rom-com.
Oh, but maybe that's it. Maybe we are the film. I mean, I'm not bigging us up too much, but
I
maybe
like
we're
that.
just maybe we're mature into like a Notebook happy ending, which is not fucking true because it's a miserable. I don't know if you've watched the Notebook.
I've not watched The Notebook.
Well,
No.
I have more than once.